Hey guys, this is Sidewinder for Community Starcraft 2. I'm back for some more community replays, and today I'm going to be bringing you a ladder game between two players that we have here. This is going to be the red Terran player Techno, and he's going to be fighting the blue Zerg player Zenima here on Tal'Darim Altar. Now Tal'Darim is a map that was adopted from the GSL, as we all might, well, we don't all know it, but some of us might. This is a huge map. The rush distances are massive. Some things to kind of watch out for in this game is that Terrans can be in a pretty good spot if they siege up their tanks. Outside of this natural right here, they can actually shell the Zerg natural and the mining on the natural if they have vision up there. So we'll see some battles like that. But the other thing is that Mutalisks are so good on this map because Mutalisks are so fast. The ground paths for getting around your own base as Terran, or really as any race besides Zerg, in order to try to deal with those Mutalisks is really hard to do. So the Mutalisks will be able to pick apart a lot of different things in the Terran base, but we'll see exactly what unfolds here. To give you a little bit of an update on what's going on in my videos, while we do have some downtime here in this game, I will be just doing some community replays for the next little while, and then I'll get back on doing some build order tutorials. I did post a little bulletin there on the front page of your YouTube, if you're subscribed to me, basically saying, hey, I'm going to be doing some build order tutorials, so if there's something that you want to see in particular, then let me know. From the Zerg player, we're going to see a hatch first, as we see no spawning pool, so he is throwing down his hatchery on 15, which is very common. Usually your next 200 resources will go towards a drone, but I mean not a drone, a spawning pool, but he decides to put out a drone, probably grab that spawning pool on 15. Considering this map is so huge, he can really afford to get away with that most of the time. Then both players will be scouting. As you can see on the Fog of War pass, the Terran player has just left his base, in addition to the Zerg, now sending a drone out. So you see right here, scouting around. They're not going to find each other for quite a while based upon these scouting patterns, considering you're usually going to scout to either your top or to your left or whatever, but you're usually going to go around in a rotational fashion. They're both going to scout each other last. And just kind of seeing what's going on with this game. There's a pretty fast tech lab coming down here from the Terran player, which a tech lab this quickly usually signals some sort of Reaper expand, and I do like Reapers on this map, if that is in fact what he's going to be putting out. We'll see what comes up on the production tab. There it is, the Reaper. I do like Reapers on this map because there's a lot of cliffs to jump up and down, especially on these spawning positions, because the Reaper can just hop down right here, hop right back up, and oh, here's the mineral line. So we'll have to see what he gets done with that Reaper, but usually this is just Reaper expand. You can see him banking some minerals to possibly throw down a command center as soon as he has the resources without skipping production on his SCVs. So this SCV is probably going to drop that right over here to keep it fairly safe from any sort of harassment. We'll see what he decides to do. The drone does get in to the base, and the Reaper nails him for that one shot. There was a Marine out there to deal a little bit of damage to it, but there's also a second Reaper coming out. And this Reaper is not the smartest of Reapers. He's getting stuck, trying to leave the base and saying, I can't get through this little hole. Well, yeah, go around. It's a lot easier to go around instead of right through. Here comes the Terran scout, finally arriving at the Zerg base. These Zerglings are going to deal with this SCV before it really sees what's going on in the main, but at least it does see the expansion so that he knows that there shouldn't be anything very unusual in this game, at least thus far from the Zerg player. Now on this replay itself, this was a Masters level replay. I can't remember. It was either Masters or Diamond. Can't remember for sure. Those APMs are fairly high, so it's got to be either Masters or Diamond. We're seeing some really good macro here at the beginning of the game from these two, so that's what I would expect. Now there's going to be a factory built onto this tech lab, and the barracks is going to be floating on here as well as another barracks ghosting on a bunker to wall this off. We're going to keep our eye on these Reapers and see what they're able to do. Since two Reapers is actually fairly unconventional in this type of a build. You usually just go for one Reaper and then expand and not get your second gas until now, which we can see him doing right here. These Reapers can kite these Zerglings, so I would expect these Reapers to get a few kills. Zergling speed, it looks like it just finished up, so these Reapers are going to have a hard time, but they can hop up and down cliffs, so this is good Reaper micro. There's now a spine crawler here to try to deal some more damage to these Reapers, and these Reapers will evacuate now that we see them running low on health. This one Reaper only has 5 hit points remaining, so he is very hurt. Now on this factory's tech lab, we do see Blue Flame Hellion research coming up and a Hellion in production. So Hellions can be very hard to deal with as Zerg. especially on this map because it has a pretty open natural entrance point. Usually if you're Zerg, you want to build something like right here and produce maybe one extra queen so that you can kind of make some sort of pseudo wall to prevent Hellions from just wrecking stuff up. But we're going to see exactly what these Hellions are up to. There is one Hellion on the field and 2 more coming down from each of these factories. At the front door of the Terran player, not a whole lot going on. The Zerg player is actually banking quite a bit of minerals, quite a bit of gas. So we can see his lair coming up. I would imagine he's going to be going into some fairly fast mutas, depending on what kind of scouting information he has. If you're Zerg, you're going to notice this rather low marine count, and now he sees the Hellions, so he should go into all-out Hellion defense mode at this point. The Zerg player did get a really good scout off in that base, so we can go ahead and take a look. This Overlord did see the double factory with this Tech Lab spinning. He did see the Hellions, so he's got to know Blue Flame Hellions are on the way. If this Spire finishes in time, he should be able to deal with those Hellions just fine. But in the meantime, you'll still probably want to lay down a building, Spine Crawler or 2 here, and probably pull an extra queen in order to deflect those Hellions as best you can. Really, if you leave a Blue Flame Hellion rush unchecked, you'll be in a ton of trouble because Blue Flame Hellions can kill workers so fast. But we'll see exactly what happens here in the coming moments. A Zergling does get roasted and fall to the ground and get run over by Hellions a couple of times, just to add insult to injury. There's a bunch of Marines, 1 Reaper, 4 Hellions all moving out across the map. There are roaches coming up, and this Overlord is going to see that this force is assembling outside of the Zerg player's base. Reaper hops up here in order to do a little bit of harassment. Queen comes over to try and poke that Reaper away, and she definitely does, but this Overlord is going to go down. So the Zerg player is going to lose vision on this army for just a moment. Terran player is just kind of exerting his map control, floating his army around to try and see what he can get. So far he does have 1 Overlord kill, which seems insignificant, but every little kill that you can get at this high level is going to be a pretty big deal. We did see the Zerg player transition into Roach play, which is a perfect answer for this army composition, but he's going to need to get some more Roaches out, considering this army composition, if used correctly, is really going to waste this number of Zerglings, these Roaches, and this 1 Spine Crawler. But fortunately enough for the Zerg, this Terran player is not being as aggressive as he could be, and really coming in there and stomping him down. Here come the 11 Mutalisks, so fast Mutalisks, as we suspected, are on the way. And the Terran player does land a scan to see exactly what's up there. This is kind of his window to hit, so that he can get up there before these mutas pop, but the mutas are now done. There's 5 now in production, but they're all going to be coming out here fairly soon. 1 Marine is elevated into the main in order to gain some sight vision, or rather to gain some sight up there. Here come the Marines. They're going to stim up and take down 1 Mutalisk. There is a little bit of a small, awkward engagement here. These Marines are just standing there taking damage from the Roaches, while the Medevac kind of bails on him, but he doesn't want to lose this Medevac to Mutifier. And here come the Mutalisks up here again to focus on the Medevac and run away. So exactly what we're talking about was why the Medevac was really wimping out in that fight for a second. Tanks do siege up outside of this natural, so predicting this game pretty well thus far. He does ditch 1 tank and donate it inexplicably, so a little bit of a miss micro there. He does lose 1 tank, which you don't want to lose any units if you can help it. Coming up in the Terran base, there is an armory, that is, 4 missile turrets, and these missile turrets must just be going up in a bunch of different locations because I can't exactly see where they're going up. There's 2 on the edge here. They're going to finish just as the Mutalisks arrive. Mutalisks are going to have to fall back and try to minimize the damage that they take from those. There is a small Blue Flame Hellion advancement, but it's not going to do a whole lot now that there are a ton of Mutalisks out and these Roaches do push them off. So these Hellions, I don't even think have any kills at all. 1 kill on that Hellion, couple on there. Those are probably just Zerglings, so no big deal. These tanks are popping down these rocks as soon as they can. Up come the Mutalisks and fly right into a turret. They're going to focus down 1 turret. Marines are coming over here desperately trying to recover, and they're going to push this off while only taking a couple of SCVs worth of losses, if even that. There's now 2 Thors in production, and these tanks are caught out of position really badly. Can this Overlord see it? Yes, they can. If you are these Mutalisks, get in there and kill those tanks while you can. There's some free tank kills for you. And down go the tanks. He's going to fly right in the main, see exactly what's going on. There's no missile turrets back here. There's only 1 on the mineral line. So these Mutalisks are going to be able to possibly cancel an upgrade, but no, the upgrade finishes. That was the Marine Shields upgrade that we saw. 2 Thors are now out. This is going to be pretty hard for these Mutalisks to deal with, especially once the Marines recover and catch up to these Thors. If you're these Mutalisks, what you really want to do is kind of hang around, make sure that this Terran doesn't get his third set up, and if you can, snipe off some of these Thors while they're separated. You can see this Terran player is separating his forces really well so that he can get his third established. These Mutalisks are going to come out and pick off these Hellions, probably for free. These Hellions are all going down, except for the one that manages to scoot out of there, and he's scared and he's running for his life. These Mutalisks will eventually track him down if they're really that worried about getting him. So this Hellion runs into a corner, says, I give up. If he had a blanket, he'd probably hide under it, because everyone knows that you're safe from monsters while you hide under a blanket. But checking back into the Terran base, this third is about to land out of the rocks, explode everywhere, and allow this command center to get down. It's a huge laundry list of stuff coming down here on the production tab. We did miss it due to all the other action, but there is a Baneling's Nest out. There are a bunch of Banelings being morphed right here at the natural for the Zerg. There is going to be Roach Glial Reconstitution, which is definitely going to increase the Roach's health regeneration rate, as you can read on the upgrade here. That increases the movement speed. The Tunneling Claws are what increases the life regeneration, so my fault. Here come the Mutalisks, trying to see what he can get in the Terran main. There's now 3 missile turrets at this expansion, but these Mutalisks can come around and pick off small forces like these Marines, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you get 3 Marines for free, that can always help. He's going to come in here, try to get the missile turrets down. The Terran player is a little bit slow to react to try to get over here. These Mutalisks are getting rather a lot of kills, really coming to the base unchecked. There's a bunch of supply depots here that are all vulnerable. Here come the Marines and 1 Thor to recover over here to try to stop this attack. These Mutalisks need to know when their time is up and when they need to retreat. He does cancel a supply depot that was in progress. So this Zerg player's Mutalisk doing a little bit of harassment, and really what he's doing is keeping the Terran player pinned in his base. There's more Mutalisks coming up here, but 1 Thor volley takes down a bunch of Mutalisks' health, and they're drifting so far off the screen I can barely see them. But if you get these Mutalisks clumped up to a Thor volley, which he's going to get another one here and land a whole bunch of shots on these Mutalisks. A bunch of these Mutalisks are now in the red and orange, and that's a really bad spot for your Mutalisks to be in, considering that they are kind of the lifeblood of your Zerg army when you're running against Terran. Your goal here is to keep your Mutalisks floating around, picking off whatever you can, and systematically just wearing the Terran down, and eventually just kicking the door in when you have his forces whittled down enough, and when you can afford to replenish your army in no time. So you can see the Zerg's macroing okay. He does now have a 3rd up, which is not mining very well. He does have a 4th up as well, which is also not mining, but it allows him to get more units out, considering he doesn't have to pay as much attention to his queens. He is floating quite a bit of minerals here, so he needs to go into overdrive, into production mode, to get something out to deal with this advancement of these tanks and Marines. But this force is actually not that sizable for a Terran player at this stage of the game. Here come the Mutalisks flying into Marines, and they don't get anything. They're just kind of sneaking around, seeing what they can get. They do focus down 1 medevac. You don't want to take any losses if you're the Zerg player. The Zerg player is doing a great job of getting these tanks down, so it's really going to help him when he needs to just roll his Zerg ball in and eliminate this Terran force. So this Zerg should be switching into all-out unit transition mode, but it looks like he's having a little bit of difficulty maintaining his larvae here on his hatcheries, which will happen if you are running Mutalisk Zergling. So if you run into this kind of situation where you're having a lot of trouble keeping your larva count up, just drop a macro hatch. If you can get this medevac down, that'll be 8 free Marines, but he doesn't. These Mutalisks are all hurt. He needs to be really careful with these. Really worried about the stability of these Mutalisks, especially when he's flying into these missile turrets, but he's confident he can take these down and do a lot of damage. As you can see, the Marines are well out of range of these Mutalisks, and it take forever for them to recover. So a ton of SCVs are going down here at the Terran main. He finally pulls his SCVs, but wow, he's taken heavy losses at this expansion. These Marines and Thor are trying to recover to get this taken care of. So this command center is going to go down in all likelihood. Blam, there it goes, with pieces bouncing all over the terrain. There's Mutalisks are now satisfied with their work and are going to be falling back. Terran player is kind of scattering his forces around to see exactly if he can control as much of the map as possible and keep the Zerg player contained, but he's having so much trouble with those Mutalisks.